Alright you guys, we have made it to our first location for this week's checklist on this beautiful sunny day. This is what used to be Empire Stadium right here. Alright you guys, so as I told you, this was built in 1954 and it was demolished in 1993. It was the home to the BC Lions and the Whitecaps for a long time. And the Whitecaps and the BC Lions moved over to BC Place where they are now, but actually in 2011 they had all the home games for the BC Lions here because they were doing some renovations on BC Place. It's pretty cool. Now it was also a concert venue, so you had Elvis Presley here in 1957, and you had the Beatles in 1964. You also had the Beach Boys come here, and the story goes that Elvis came here in 57 and he played for 15 minutes and he only played 4 songs. Alright you guys, so after doing a little bit more research on the whole Elvis 15-minute show thing, I found out that it was actually, there was 26,500 people in the crowd for that show, which was huge for the time. And Elvis was putting on a really good show. It was right when Jailhouse Rock came out, and people started to come to the stage to try and get closer to Elvis. And the Colonel told Elvis, hey, maybe we should tone this show down because the crowd seems to be a little bit excited. And Elvis didn't really agree. He wanted to put on a really good show, and it ended up being a little too unsafe for the crowd, so they decided to stop the show 15 minutes in, and Elvis actually gave his gold jacket to a crew member, and the crew member ran off, and the crowd started following the crew member thinking it was Elvis, and Elvis hopped into a car and left the stadium. And he only played 4 songs. Here's the set list right here, I'll throw it up. And also the Beatles came here, and there's a bunch of like posters that this was the first show they played in Canada. You can see it all online. You can see the old posters and even some of the old pictures that they have. I'll throw them up here. And this was also the set list that was played. Super wild. I mean, imagine you're over here, living over here, and you can hear every song that the Beatles played that night, or every song that Elvis played for the 15 minutes. Like, how cool is that? A little piece of history that I never knew about this place. Now, I don't know the full history of it, so if you guys know anything about this spot that I haven't spoken on yet, leave it in the comments. I'm totally interested to know. Alright you guys, we are downtown on Granville Street. It's going to be a little busy, but we are right across from the Commodore Ballroom. This building was built in 1929 and finished and opened its doors in 1930. This building has housed a ton of historical music moments. Let's go check it out a little closer. From the big bands of the 1930s to Sammy Davis Jr. to Depeche Mode and The Cure, this building's seen it all in its 90 years. Granville Street was the location of the Commodore Cafe since 1924. It was modeled after British ballrooms in the 1920s. The cabaret was designed by a Vancouver architect, H.H. Gillingham. Now, unfortunately for the Commodore, it opened in 1930 and had to deal with the aftermath of the stock market crash, and the Commodore ended up having to close its doors in March of 1931. But later on in that year, they would try to keep the room alive and offered dinner, dancing, and music every Saturday night, and admission only costed $1 a person. They brought in a combination of house bands, featured acts, and third-party rentals for more than 30 years. It was going great, but around 1965 they were having a tough go. Things were about to change in 1969 when Drew Burns received the lease. Drew Burns brought in Tina Turner, Kiss, David Bowie, B.B. King, and for the first Vancouver appearances, Patti Smith, Blondie, Devo, Tom Petty, The Police, and The Clash for their first North American show. In the 90s, you could catch Nirvana, you could catch Soundgarden, and we could keep the list going, but to keep it short. In 1996, the lease went up for sale, and nobody bought it. And it closed its doors until 1999 when it became a House of Blues. Now, House of Blues merged with Live Nation in 2007, and since that year you could have seen the Pixies, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, Roger Daltrey, Snoop Dogg, Franz Ferdinand, the Glorious Sons as soon as 2018, many others. In 2011, Billboard magazine named it top 10 most influential club in North America and the most influential club in Canada. Alright, you guys, this week's movie we watched, this is Spinal Tap. This movie is absolutely hilarious, keeping with the theme of music history. Let's see what's underneath this.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
All right, you guys, that's all I have for you this week. Go out, have yourselves a fantastic week, and I'll meet up with you next Friday, baby. Let's go!